We begin with breaking news out of Gaza, where the number of Palestinians killed since October 2023 has passed 50,000, according to its health ministry. Israeli strikes have intensified across the Strip, with shelters and residential buildings being attacked. 30 Palestinians have been killed on Sunday, the sixth day since Israel broke the ceasefire with Hamas. Thousands of Palestinians in southern Gaza are having to move again as Israel's military issues forced evacuation orders. Now, people living in parts of Rafah have been told to leave. In a moment, we'll be live with Nour Odeh in Amman. But first, we're going to go to Hani Mahmoud, who joins us once again from Gaza City. You've reported on this war since October 2023. Another grim milestone we're marking now. 50,000 Palestinians have been killed since then.
Absolutely, and there were many times where cases left in the hospital unidentified simply because whole entire families were wiped out and nobody was able to identify these bodies. So the figures that we're looking at right now is quite conservative to the actual figures on the ground. It's far more shocking, with more people still missing and trapped under the rubble, counted by the 14,000. Again, this reading again is also conservative because we don't know how many people are missing and trapped under the rubble. In fact, because of the mass bombardment that took place in the city of Beit Hanun and northern part of Beit Lahia at the opening weeks of the war, the Israeli military carried out mass bombardment without giving people the warning or giving them the proper time, sufficient time to leave their homes. Their homes were flattened to the ground while they were still inside, and that's what we're seeing. More people who were displaced in the central area and in lost evacuation zone. They were often approaching our broadcasting point and asking about the time they're going to return back, the time if the bodies were recovered from Beit Hanun or the city of Beit Lahia or eastern part of Gaza City, because when they left, when they evacuated, their families stayed there inside their homes, or they happened to be in a different areas when the bombardment happened, but they lost entire families. Again, these people, including the 17,000 children, the close 9,000 women and mothers who were killed, all likely to affect the Palestinian society in the future, the way how it progresses in terms of politics, economics, and intellectual capabilities. All of this is affecting the society in a very negative way. But all of what's really hard to explain now is that all of these people, including the children, had their dreams, had their ambition, had their life to look forward, to rebuild, to start moving forward. But the death put an end to all of these dreams. It's like a dreams that has been deferred largely by 18 months of bombardment. There's one single proof that we keep seeing over and over. On March 18th, when we seen in a single massive attacks across the Gaza Strip, 400 people killed. This is very consistent with the large number of casualties throughout the past year. There were times where the Israeli military here inside the Al-Ahli hospital killed in one single attack 500 people. In Rafah city, where a group of residential homes were targeted at once, as far as we remember, back in January 2024, where at least 100 people were killed. More recently, in Jabalia refugee camp and the northern part of the Strip, where Abu Nasser family, 120 people were killed in one residential home. So all of these figures are consistent with the total number that we're seeing right now. The Israeli military carried out massive and mass bombardment across the Gaza Strip, something that constitutes genocide, in fact.
Thank you so much, Hani. Hani Mahmoud for us there in Gaza City. We're going to go now to Nour Odeh, who's in Amman, Jordan. She's there because the Israeli government and the Palestinian Authority have banned Al Jazeera from reporting inside Israel, as well as the occupied West Bank. 50,000 people killed in Gaza, most of them, as we've been saying, women and children. Is this being reported or reflected at all in Israel right now?
Well, Tom, in Israel, these numbers, if they are reported, and they're usually not, they don't really leave an impact. Israel has undermined or attempted to paint as inaccurate the numbers of casualties coming out of Gaza. It insists that a strike, for example, like the one Hani was mentioning, that broke the ceasefire just a few days ago killed 600 so-called terrorists, when we know that at least 200 children were among those killed in that one blitz attack. And so the narrative in Israel, the way these casualty numbers are painted in Israel, is entirely different, almost coming from in a parallel discourse to what the reality on the ground is and what the international community sees and is horrified by. And that's why perhaps that explains why Israel was able to express so much outrage when it was accused of genocide at the International Court of Justice, precisely because of those numbers, which are very conservative estimates.
And Nour, there was a security cabinet meeting which approved the creation of a committee to oversee the relocation of Palestinians from Gaza to another country. Can you just explain what that means?
Well, it means, Tom, that there's a culmination, if you will, of this policy. You have over 16 months of nonstop bombardment, of starvation. You have 23 days of not a drop of aid coming in, 6 days of constant attacks and forced displacement. And now there's an endorsement in the form of a directorate in the Ministry of Defense of a policy that seeks to expel, to vacate Gaza of its population in order to implement Donald Trump's plan of taking over Gaza and turning it into a real estate development site. Now, of course, international law experts and even some countries have said this would amount to ethnic cleansing. Israel calling it voluntary migration doesn't change the fact that Israel has created conditions that make it impossible for human beings to continue living in Gaza, especially when you take into account the numbers that we were just talking about. So offering to facilitate someone's exit, someone's survival from these genocidal attacks doesn't count as voluntary in the eyes of international law, according to the experts that we've been hearing from.
Thank you so much, Nour Odeh, for us there in Amman.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get latest news from Al Jazeera.